brats. Everyone was very generous with giving donations. It was really, really neat. Thank you very, very much. This is a wonderful text, a wonderful gospel. This is the third time Jesus has predicted his passion. In the Gospel of Mark, there are 3 passion predictions, and they all follow a similar pattern. Jesus tells his disciples, I'm going to Jerusalem, I'm going to suffer, be crucified, I'm going to die, I'm going to be raised. The disciples do not understand what he's talking about, say something outlandish, and then Jesus uses it as an opportunity to teach them something about discipleship, what it means to follow him. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment, because right before our gospel verses for today, Jesus has told them, he says, I'm just going to read just a little bit. It says, see, we're going up to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over. They will condemn him to death. They will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him, spit on him, flog him, and kill him. And after 3 days, he will rise again. Now imagine that you just heard that. And now listen to what James and John do. It says, James and John came to Jesus and said, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. They didn't get it, did they? James and John are thinking of themselves. Jesus has just told all the disciples, I'm going to suffer, I'm going to die, I'm going to be raised. They don't get it. They still think he's going to establish his kingdom of glory. And what is it that they want from Jesus? Teacher, tell us. We want to sit one on your left side, one on your right side. We want to share your glory. I'm just going, you guys, come on, don't you get it? No, they don't get it. In response to this message, they still are thinking of glory. They are still thinking that Jesus will establish this earthly kingdom, and they want to share in the honor. Do we get it? Sometimes I wonder if we get it. I think about that a lot. I want to add a little light to this. What James and John are doing was very common in those days. You know the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, okay? And we call it networking, don't we? We call it, pastors are experts at it. I mean, anytime you work with people, you got to need to know these people and these people. You can't help it. It's part of life. And it was a big part of the people in Jesus' culture. Honor is a very big part of their culture, a lot more than us. I think we're more interested in power and money. They were more interested in honor, feeling honor. And they gained honor. They were elevated from their place of dishonor to honor by taking advantage of the relationships with people that they knew. James and John are close to Jesus. They see him as a man with some power, some status. So they go to him and they say, hey, come on. We want to be part of it when you come in your glory. That was a big part of their culture. That's not surprising, that part of the gospel. In fact, the readers in that first century, when they would have read that, they would have said, that's right, that's the way you do it. It's by taking advantage of those relationships. But what is surprising is what Jesus says in response to their question. He does not reprimand them. Hope you notice that. He doesn't get angry with them. First he says, you don't know what you're asking for. So that's why the title, Be Careful What You Ask For, you might get it. Are you able to drink the cup that I will drink and be baptized with the baptism I'm going to be baptized? Are you able? And you know what he's talking about, right? He's talking about his suffering and his death. They still don't get it because they say, yeah, we're able. They replied, we are able. And then he says, okay, well, you are going to drink that cup and you are going to be baptized, but if you get to sit at my right hand or the left, is not mine to grant. Only God. That's kind of an interesting statement to meditate on, isn't it? Jesus says, I don't even have that authority to grant who gets to sit at my right and left. Only God does. Kind of an interesting comment. And then the 10 hear this, and it says that the 10 get angry with James and John. Why do you think they're angry with James and John?
Because they didn't think of it first.
That's right. They didn't think of it first. They didn't get to Jesus first. They don't have any nobler ideas. But then Jesus says something which would have totally shocked the people in his day, and I think it still shocks us today. He says, if you want to be great, you must be what? Least of all. You must be a servant, a slave, doulos, slave, the lowest place of honor. And he says, let me read the actual words. I should have kept it there. And then he says, whoever wishes to be first must be slave of all. If you wish to become great, you must be your servant. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. What's common in their life, in their time and place? To be dishonored by other people, that was not surprising. But for Jesus to say, I want you to purposely lower yourself, that was unheard of. I mean, how does that sound to us? To purposely put yourself in a lower position. As we grow older and wiser, what do we want? We want something bigger and better. I laugh at God. I not laugh at God, but I laugh at my circumstances, and I'm quite happy. My first church that I served was the biggest church I've ever served. The second church I served was a little smaller, and the third church that I served is even smaller, and now I'm here, and this is the smallest. And so, I'm not following protocol here. But it's God's call. God's call. And what is God's call to you? It's to serve. To serve. And to serve with the attitude that somebody isn't going to walk up to you and say, boy, you're doing a good job now. Because sometimes, if we are honest, if we look real deep down inside, we are willing to serve as long as somebody gives us a gold medal or gives us a little bit of acclaim. And it's a struggle. And it is a struggle for me because it's human nature to want someone to say, you're doing well. You're a good guy, Joel. And God has blessed me with a wonderful wife who reminds me often enough, you may be a pastor, but you still screw up a lot around the house. And I don't like hearing it, but it's good for me. It's good. It's good for all of us to be reminded that the purpose of our life and the purpose of our life in the church is to serve God's people. And not just God. Well, I say God's people because I believe all people are God's people. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not so worried about who's in and out. I'll let God worry about that. Today is a Sunday known for many churches as Bread for the World Sunday. Are you familiar with Bread for the World? A wonderful organization that not only provides food for hungry throughout the world, but does something that is not glamorous. They go to Washington, D.C., and they talk to the politicians to remind the politicians that, the real cause of hunger is not lack of food, but bad laws. Laws that are not for the benefit of the poor all the time. I mean, that's a tough job. They're lobbyists, you know, and I don't know what you feel about lobbyists. Probably shouldn't say here, but they are a part of the political scene. And if anybody needs a voice in the world and in our country, it's the poor. And it's those who struggle to put food on the table. And I can say that there are more and more people who are hungry in our country, even in Lyndon, Washington, if you can believe it. I think it's Sumas, aren't they? I'm not putting you on the spot. How many more people are coming to the food bank?
We got 3 new families. We only send 1 box to a household, and that household might hold 12 people. Who knows?
We who've been blessed are called to serve, to speak for those who have no voice. Amen.